Hey guys, Zakk here from MixChecks.com. Welcome back to this free mixing course and live mixing session. Today we are going to be mixing the bass guitar in the song that we've been working on, which is called Empires by Radio Not, and we are only using stock plugins that come with Logic. So if you're interested to see how that works and what kind of mix we can get with Logic stock plugins, let's jump right in.
I know your heart is dark inside, but I am not afraid of the night. You run, you hide, you fall, you
Okay,
climb, but
let's jump into this bass. And honestly, this bass is going to be another one where it's hard not to reach for some of those third-party plugins. I feel like normally on bass, I'm pretty much straight away going for that Plugin Alliance Ampeg bass amp sim. But I guess on this one, we're just going to have to stick with what Logic has. So let's just see what's going on with the bass. So there's 3 bass tracks. So that was bass 1. Let's see what bass 2 is. So just thinner, not as deep as bass 1. Let's see what bass crunch sounds like. So that only comes in, I'm assuming, on the choruses maybe? Let's see. And let's see if it's playing the same thing as the other basses. Okay. So yeah, that's a pretty common thing to do in rock music, or maybe even metal. But during the choruses, you add in that bass drive to kind of make the choruses bigger and give that differentiation between the verse and the chorus. So I think we're gonna try and stick with that and stick with what they were going for when they were recording it. I'm not sure I have a need for this bass 2 though. I'm gonna try and just go with this bass 1 and crunch, and then we'll just mute this bass 2 for now. So I think, let's see what happens if we put just one of Logic's amp sims on here. So we're gonna go bass amp designer. Is this stereo? Okay, yeah, we don't need a stereo bass. Going mono. Amp, bass amp designer. Let's see what kind of mics we're working with here. That was loud. So the compressor's not on, which is why that gain knob didn't do anything. This gain knob just added a bunch of volume, but it didn't really give us any grit, so we're just going to leave that as is. Let's see what other ones they have. So they have classic amp. That is hissy. Okay, I actually like this one better. So we're going to go with this. Just using the Logic preset of flip top amp. And whenever it comes to bass, what I do is I low pass it pretty hard. I don't want all this other extra stuff up here. And I also like to put a little notch around 50 or 60 to let the kick breathe in that area. And then I'll do a little boost at 100 since that's kind of where I want my bass to actually be sitting. So cut at 50, boost at 100. All right, let's see what it's sounding like now. And then with bass, since it is one of those low end instruments and it's going to kind of provide the foundation for the mix low end, I'm just going to smash it really hard with the compressor. Same thing I do on the sub kick. So since we're using Logic stock plugins though, we will move on to our normal. But on this one, I'm going to go super high on the ratio. Okay, so now we got that nice and crunched down so it can just provide that extra layer of, I guess it's not really an extra layer, but that firm foundation of bass. And now we're just going to feather it in to the actual mix with our drums. Okay, and so now let's move on to this bass crunch. See if we can just clean it up a little bit. Since I already have the other bass track doing the low end, on this one I'm just going to high pass it, and because we just want this to add that extra flavor on top. Gonna add a loop so it's easy to work with. So if you hear that, basically it's doing nothing. So that means I can just low pass it since there's nothing happening up there anyways. And since the high end of it is kind of scratchy, I'm just going to let it be a little bit heavier in the mids region and then just kind of just a little bit filter out some of those highs. Okay, and then I'm also going to, actually first let's make this mono. And then we're also just going to compress it. I'm going to go a little bit faster attack on this one and not as high on the threshold, on the ratio. Since it's distorted, it's already kind of compressed, since that's what distortion is, just clipping off the top of it. But just going to add a little bit more to kind of soften it up and even it out. Okay, so now let's feather this back in. Cool. And so now we are done with the bass for now. We might have to adjust it, after we're done with all the elements in the mix, just to get that low end level right. That's one thing that I always find myself adjusting way after the fact is, where do I want that bass to sit, especially after going back and forth and referencing. That's one thing to pay attention for in the reference is like, okay, where's their bass sitting? And then I always find myself adjusting the bass fader way later in the mix. So we're going to leave it here for now. It sounds good to my ears. And then we're going to move on to the guitars.